What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the KCM. We're here for week number 3. We've just come off of the round of 8 of ASL. Should and I casted that live over on Soup. If you guys haven't picked up on it yet, go check out the link in the description. It'll be right there at the bottom of your screen. Kind of a crazy week, honestly. Just a wild week. We're not going to spoil it for anybody, but I was just telling Shun that I'm still kind of reeling from it all. And I'm excited to see this week of KCM, but I am a little shell-shocked here. We got Light, Sock, JYJ, Stork, Snow Mini, Soma, Hero, Jaedong, and the fans are particularly leaning towards Zerg this week.
Yeah, I think we were talking a little bit about that before the cast. That I think it's to do with just how monstrous Soma and Jaedong are, and a lot of the fans have a lot of faith in them too. In particular, Hero is not quite his usual consistent self from a few years ago, but in particular, Soma and Jaedong, as well as Hero, should be able to get a lot of wins in this week of KCM. Soma and Jaedong just so damn good at the game, but Jaedong's first out to bat, and Terran have sent out JYJ. JYJ is a very good Terran versus Zerg specialist. Maybe he can pick up a win here.
Yeah, it makes sense to send out JYJ first if you're going up against Zerg. Probably don't want to send him up against Snow or Mini or anything like that, but against Jaedong, I think he stands somewhat of a chance. Jaedong has been an absolute monster recently. He's been absolutely crushing. Maybe a big reason why the fans are leaning so far towards Zerg this week is just his recent performance has been fantastic. But again, yeah, JYJ, he is a bit of a specialist, and he's got close positions here. Might be able to put on a lot of early pressure. He started out with a wall in at the front, though. He's not really leaning into the current meta, which is very much revolving around, you know, 1-1-1 and Wraith play.
Yeah, this seems like a lot more of a standard style to kick things off here for JYJ. Shouldn't be enough time for the drone to kill this SCV, especially if he cycles it out. Marine will pop out in just a second. And this wasn't that fast of a barracks as well, so it doesn't look like he wants to go too crazy with the early game pressure against Jaedong. Jaedong did open up hatch first. Looks like a pretty standard 2 hatchery build from him. Oh, gets a few shots on the Marine with the spines from that drone. Maybe he can stop any damage or pressure coming out from JYJ. Like, this is not a committed attack at all. Like, this is just a deny some mining in the natural for a few seconds and be a little bit annoying until the Zerglings pop. But now that this Marine has softened up, JYJ might just pull it back, and he does look like he's doing that.
Yeah, he wanted to force Jaedong off the line there for a second, but doesn't really get too much of a slowdown. One drone getting very low there, but can't get the fusion cutter to connect. JYJ gonna pull back. That's looking like a very normal opener here from JYJ. Moving towards a 2 racks. Stim timing most likely, putting on the pressure, but I really like the way that Jaedong plays against this style. He is very well adept at handling this type of play. JYJ is going to have his work cut out for him here if he wants to try and, you know, pressure Jaedong in the early game.
He's making a lot of Zerglings, saying he wants to try and catch these Marines and punish. And JYJ is keeping the Marines out in front right now. This could be a massive mistake. He's not going to be able to get them back to the safety of the wall. He is going to pretty much lose all of these 4 Marines without really doing anything. And even 2 Lings squeezing in the gap before the SCVs can plug it up. Uh-oh, there is another barracks in the main base producing SCV Marines right now, but the SCVs are already starting to fall. Jaedong might have a bit of a technical victory here, because even if he doesn't kill JYJ with this, all the Marines have died, SCVs are going down. This is crippling the Terran's growth in the game no matter what happens.
Yeah, this is almost irrecoverable. He's lost a bunch of SCVs. He's lost so much mining time. And the Lings are continuing to be a really big threat. More are going to come running in here in a second. He's even going to get into the main as well. A couple of Firebats do pop out. If he hold positions that in between the barracks and the supply depot, it's pretty strong, pretty hard to break through. In fact, looks like he will be able to hold off. So, Jaedong missing his opportunity to just straight up end the game by getting more Lings in and shutting down the turrets as the mutas start to come across the map. But he's still in a great spot, and he's still got a 1 Ling kind of running around in the main, making sure that he sees everything that's going on and causing a bit of a headache here for JYJ.
Yeah, the Firebats are great at shutting down the Ling pressure, obviously, but that also means that's 2 less Marines you weren't able to make. So when you've already lost that many Marines and you're cutting the production of more because of those Firebats, well, now the Mutalisks are going to have just that much more value as well. There's only 4 drones mining minerals in the natural, so, you know, Jaedong's taking a bit of a hit to his economy to do this himself, but the Terran is so far behind the curve where he should be at that this is still going to be very problematic. The turrets are only just now starting as the mutas are already en route. Got a safety bunker as well in the natural here for JYJ. The turrets in the natural definitely not going to be quick enough. If Jaedong swings to the natural right after picking off this SCV building the turret, there's a lot of damage that could happen. But let's see, JYJ might not have to worry about that. If Jaedong stays hyper-focused on the main base right now, he might get away with those slower timings. It does look like he is going to finish up those turrets in the natural because Jaedong wanted to swing into the main rather than rotate there. So he has kind of avoided disaster for the time being, but now Jaedong's got 7 Mutalisks. He's going to fly in here and start one-shotting these SCVs.
This first turret position's not that great. He's left a big open hole here at the bottom. It's allowing Jaedong to just harass all these SCVs, and it's very hard for JYJ to rotate around this. I thought you would build a lot more turrets because of his lack of Marines, try to make up for that anti-air, the lack of anti-air, by adding on more turrets, but he's trying to walk a really dangerous fine line of making the absolute bare minimum number of turrets with these Marines. Good volley there from Jaedong, picking off 2 and opening up the position even further. JYJ is on the edge of defeat, but sometimes you have to walk as close to the line as possible in order to give yourself an opportunity to come back.
Yeah, he just lost both of those Firebats for free. At least he's got this bunker. This bunker's going to stop a Ling stab in the natural while the mutas are distracting the bio in the main base from being too effective here. But, you know, JYJ also has to worry about the fact that this is not an all-in play from Jaedong. He's taking a 3rd hatchery. He is still growing back at home. He's throwing down a Hydralisk Den to transition into lurkers. And he's going to have a very comfortable mid to late game transition at this rate, regardless of how much further damage is done to JYJ. JYJ's just in pure survival mode. Well, Jaedong's going to start to thrive. He's got more and more turrets thrown down now, so he should be able to mitigate too many crazy losses to the mutas from this point onwards. Looks like a depot is going to be the next order of business here from Jaedong. Supply blocking JYJ, adding a bit of insult to injury here. And that factory timing from JYJ is very late.
Minimal losses from Jaedong so far when it comes to his Mutalist stack. He's been able to keep that count very, very high, and even has a bunch of mutas sitting off here to the side as reinforcements, can start swapping those out with the injured mutas in the stack. And so he's just going to keep a really powerful Mutalist force out here in the front, keep the pressure onto JYJ while this transition is coming. JYJ has to just keep rotating back and forth here and trying to stop this until his vessel eventually pops out. He just doesn't really have the Marine production to fight fully against these mutas in the air. Another turret goes down, more Marines start to fall. The position is once again open, and another rotation out of some of these damaged Mutalists. Jaedong just not going to hold back on this front at all, and I'm afraid for JYJ that we're gonna have some lurkers at the front door here in just a few moments.
Yeah, that's like the main win condition for Jaedong. Like, he's not going to try and finish off JYJ with these mutas. He's just keeping him contained so that eventually some lurkers can get up here. Looks like there was an armory made by JYJ identifying that actually he might even need the help of some Valkyries to stabilize against these mutalisks, but that kind of plays into Jaedong's hands a little bit. He's already got the lurker tech underway. There will be some tanks here from JYJ, so kind of like a delayed fantasy style-esque push, but it's very weakened due to how much economy damage he's had to sustain. Jaedong's actually way ahead in supply by about 10 to 15 right now. It's kind of crazy. And here comes the lurkers now for that contain. There's not going to be any vessels, but he does have scan and this tank to start to shove this back gradually.
This is looking like a clean finisher from Jaedong. He's done everything right. And oh my god, that scan is off? Are you kidding me? Oh, that scan was so close to spotting the lurkers there. I cannot believe that it didn't reveal. Neither can JYJ. He would have been shocked. Probably had a jump scare when at home in his chair. Like, how the heck were there lurkers there when I scanned in front of my base? Unreal. He just took so much damage. It's frankly just about over at this point. He runs forward here, gonna get some pretty good trades with some of these lurkers, but the tank is dead. The Valkyrie's gonna die as well, and more lurkers are already here. The Marine count is so low at this point. The possibility of JYJ breaking out of this base is near zero.
Yeah, this is so rough. I don't think JYJ can win the game anymore unless like Jaedong goes AFK or something. It's really that insane how far ahead Jaedong is, and that is kind of like a testament to how good of a player Jaedong is at this present moment, where he's able to make a TVZ specialist look a little bit silly. And it's not like JYJ is playing bad, it's just that Jaedong's playing so damn well. And yeah, there is just no hope of him breaking out. Look at how many, like 7 lurkers containing him now. And Defiler Mound is already finished. This is going to be a slight gradual death here for JYJ. But actually, Jaedong wants to speed things up. He doesn't want to wait for that Defiler. He wants to pounce on him before that tech even becomes relevant. He knows he can shut him down. And GG is called from JYJ. Zerg taking a very dominant position already in this week of KCM, knocking out one of the specialist players.
Very Jaedong-esque finisher there at the end, diving straight on into the natural, not even a second thought. The killer instinct kicking in and allowing him to end that game before JYJ could really get his feet underneath him. Snow now over here in the top right-hand corner. Jaedong bottom left on match point. Be a nice little back and forth here, I imagine. But look at this Snow sending that probe immediately across the map. Is he going to go for something like a Nexus first? Or perhaps try to block the hatchery here at the natural?
Yeah, I mean, this is very early, even if you do want to block a hatchery, right? Like, the hatchery timing is not for another, like, 25 seconds. So this is crazy early from him. I don't know if maybe he's worried about something like a 5 pull or a 9 pull from Jaedong and wants to make sure that that's not the case so that he can throw down that Nexus first, like you were saying. That seems to be the case. Like, he just wants to make sure he's not going to die straight off the bat. And after seeing that hatchery first, he's definitely going to be wanting to plop down this Nexus.
Yeah, Nexus on the way here in just a moment. Looks like a pretty solid start from Snow. Not really a lot you can do against this is Jaedong, right? Like, you can't really punish, I guess. There is a potential here to, you know, go for a third hatchery right off the bat, right? You could maybe send out another drone, try to get a third hatch before pool, but he doesn't have the vision with the Overlord yet, so that would be a real risk. I mean, you don't see a Zealot coming just yet, but it could be going around the long way, trying to obfuscate, trying to hide. Yeah, it's just not a very comfortable position. I like the way Snow's opened here on match point.
It was cool by Jaedong, though, that he was able to go for an 11 hatch rather than a 12 hatch, so that there was not enough time for the probe to get back to the natural to block that. So at least there's not much of a slowdown on Jaedong's timings, and he's going to be slightly greedy in the sense that he's taking the gas base at the 6 o'clock as his third. Even though the mineral only is a more natural progression point for the Zerg, it does kind of lock you into a more Hydra-centric mid-game. So going for that gas is a little bit greedy because of how far away it is, but it does open up such a more build order variety for you.
Yeah, sorry guys. Might have heard a dog in the background there. I'm house sitting for a friend of mine, watching his dogs, or I guess dog sitting, for a friend of mine who's away in Tokyo for a few days. Gonna be streaming from his house tomorrow, probably watching some Pro League. Kind of an interesting dude. Might do a little house tour for you guys. We'll see what ends up happening. But if you hear a dog in the background, I apologize. I'll try to cut it out as I can.
Yeah, I love dogs, by the way. Let's see what Snow wants to do this game. You don't have to do anything special when you go Nexus first. You kind of can just play like you normally would. Just everything's a little bit quicker, and you know, you got more power behind you in the mid game, have you? But I really would be interested to see players mix it up more. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing some Citadel first builds where they don't even get a Stargate. I haven't seen a lot of that play from Protoss players. Only like 1 or 2 games here and there. Would love to see Protoss players mix it up ever so slightly. But it is Jaedong we're talking about that he is up against, so probably a little bit scared to do a build like that, because Jaedong's Mutalisks could just end up running rings around you while you're trying to squeeze out a Dark Archon and get enough energy for Maelstrom. So it doesn't seem like that's going to be the order of business here from Snow. Zealot at the third base, putting on some pressure, tucking in and out of this little hidey hole to see if he can snipe a drone while Jaedong's not paying attention.
Jaedong is paying attention. He's keeping these drones alive so far and bringing some more Lings into position to deal with this. At the same time, Snow going to, of course, bounce Zealots in between the bases. One heading in towards the natural right now. That's been caught up with, though. Snow loses another Zealot there without getting any drone kills. Just killing off a couple of Lings here and there. Does not have a 4th Zealot coming towards that third base. So looks like Jaedong will stabilize, and he stabilizes on a pretty solid 3 bases. He's got triple gas available to him rather than, you know, taking that mineral only and being segregated onto just 2 gases.
Ooh, almost got that drone. Beautiful slide from Jaedong, using the F2 key to quickly switch to his main base for the drill, keeping that drone alive. I like that Snow's being very hyper aggressive with these first few Zealots. This is something that we would see from Mini a lot, but Jaedong is just too good to let that damage occur. Now we've got the Corsair coming in right as the Scourge are popping out. If he loses this Corsair, it's going to be huge. Oh my god, Saiyan. It's such a nightmare for Protoss players when they lose that first Corsair for free. And this is going to be a cross-teching style from Jaedong ever so slightly. He's going to have a Hydra Den a little bit quicker than usual, but this isn't a committed cross-tech that we would see Soma go for. This Hydra Den is a little bit later than that, but a couple of Zealots rotating down to this third base to put on some pressure. But now the Zerg Sim City can work against them. Jaedong actually wraps around the left-hand side of that hatchery to deny that from occurring and gets a pretty good surround on these Zealots. Snow desperate for economic damage, but Jaedong shutting him down at every junction.
This is just a very good showcase of how powerful Jaedong is right now, handling the moves of Snow at such a high level. And he's even going to shut down this last Zealot. Oh, tries to pull out the Lings that are low here. Doesn't really get much for that in the way of keeping these Lings alive, but it's okay. He doesn't lose any more drones. He's got the Hydras out now. No Overlord speed just yet, so this DT is actually quite strong. It's going to keep Jaedong kind of tucked into his base and scared for the moment. And it is also going to reveal just how much is being produced for Jaedong at the moment. Seems like Jaedong's not really looking to go for a Hydralisk bus. You're just talking about that Soma cross-tech style, where he would definitely be pushing across the map right now, looking to deal some damage. You can still come out here as Jaedong, but I believe he's doing a couple of round of drones right now. Yeah, there's some drones popping out. Getting himself into a better economic position, probably instead going to be looking towards taking a 4th base.
Yeah, this looks like a little bit of a mind game from Jaedong, because like Snow saw some of the Hydras initially and maybe thought it was going to be a pre-storm bust timing. Oh, he's losing a lot of Zerglings for free to this DT. That's a nice pickup there for Snow. And Snow kind of, cut Corsair production, started making additional cannons in the natural just to make himself a little bit safer. But as you say, Jaedong's not fully committed to this. This is just a pretty standard amount of Hydras to put on a little bit of pressure, but he hasn't got the intention to break Snow with these Hydras. He's just going to be macroing up behind this, and because there was a cut in Corsair production, because there were extra cannons made from Snow, it's going to slow down the gateway explosion of the Protoss player and make it just that little bit harder to push out and capitalize in the mid game.
I mean, the Corsair number is a little bit higher at this point with 5. You can start to fight some Scourge back, but he's on the bleeding edge here to what he can get away with in terms of Corsair. Finally, a 6 Corsair pops out. I imagine those have +1. That's where you can actually start to battle back some Scourge. But Jaedong not really interested in trying to fight that in the sky any longer. He's got Lurkers on the way. He does make a few more Scourge. Okay, so getting a few more Scourge out here, it's a little bit better as a mobile defense. If the Corsairs decide to engage, sending in those Scourge after, a couple of them have been killed, you can end up getting some good connections on them. But it seems like for the most part, Jaedong is ready to fight straight up on the ground. Here we go. Diving forward here with the Corsairs. Scourge going to be useful in pushing those back for the moment. Gets a couple connections there on a couple of these Corsairs. But there's a lot of Overlords nearby here. He's got to be careful not to lose this fight. Losing all those Overlords would be devastating. Jaedong pushes stuff back for now and has Lurkers on the field to start threatening.
Yeah, Jaedong's doing a pretty good job this game. Looks like, Snow's going to pick up a couple of Overlords here and there, but the main plan of Jaedong is to kind of go for a bit of a Battle Zerg style and keep the Protoss locked on 2 gases for as long as possible. Snow's going to have to be very active out on the map with like small squads of Zealots to keep Jaedong splitting his focus from being able to commit all of his army into a more offensive positioning. And you can see that's kind of working out for Snow so far. A lot of these Hydras are chasing around Zealots and Corsairs out on the map and aren't committed to the front just yet. And that's kind of how we've seen this style not work out for Zerg so much, is when the Protoss can keep stretching them thin and making the rally points of the Hydras go chasing after these small contingencies rather than committing everything to the front in a little bit of time. I don't think Jaedong's going to try and go for a fast hive here at all, but good catch on these Zealots here from the Tyrant. It does look more and more like he's going to be committing very heavily into setting up a high ground contain on this peninsula towards the south, just above the mineral only of Snow.
Ooh, load up, and a big drop is going to be coming in right as Snow is moving out. Dude, there are a couple of different ways to play this style. You can try to kill the Corsairs and do a Mutalisk switch. You can go for a drop like this. And you know what? The timing is insanely good, man. This is such good timing. Right as Snow moved out, he's going to start losing some very important buildings in his main base. Lurker drop. Oh, doesn't quite get that second shot off. Great storm here. Actually killing a lot of these Hydras. Trying to focus down the Nexus in the main, but he doesn't get it. He did, however, get some very important buildings. He killed, I believe, the robotics facility and the Templar archives. So he's done a lot here to slow down the tech of Snow.
Yeah, it's pretty significant, although he obviously did lose a lot of his army without doing much besides killing those buildings. So if maybe somehow Snow can keep his macro cycles going, this might be a good opportunity for him to start breaking out onto the map. Hopefully he's got enough High Templars in reserve. Jaedong surging forward, trying to snipe off a few of these critical units. One Templar going down already. Snow really desperately wants to set up this third base, but now the real battle plan of Jaedong starting to come to fruition as he sets up on this high ground peninsula. It was clear that was the goal from the start, but he definitely threw Snow with a curveball with that drop into the main. Drops into the main pretty good on this map in particular. Does siphon off a lot of the tech from Snow, so he can't make many observers, many more Templars for the time being. And that means that Jaedong's pretty much predominantly Hydra army is going to have a little bit more value than usual, but Snow is doing the right thing here. He's sending some Zealots out onto the map to distract Jaedong and force all of the reinforcements to chase these downs and deal with the threat of these Zealots rather than coming into the front door of Snow. But I'm not sure it matters. Like, Jaedong was still successful in stopping this expansion coming down from Snow, and now he's even eyeing up the Forge in the natural.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to save this base, man. The fourth stays up. That mineral only is still alive and well, whereas Snow's third is completely gone, and that Forge died as well. Now all the Corsairs are gone. This is a great opportunity for a Mutalist switch. Like, we could see Jaedong pop 10 Mutas right now and just tear Snow apart.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit scary for Snow, man. Like, Jaedong's already got +2 on these Hydras, and Snow stuck on 1-1. Like, that +2 armor did not finish. That was a massive pickup for Jaedong. Killing those critical tech buildings in the main base is starting to pay a lot of dividends, and being unable to snipe that fourth base of Jaedong is just going to make it a little bit harder to stop this Battle Zerg in its tracks. You can see Jaedong's actually starting to gradually eclipse Snow in supply. Finally going after taking that third base again is Snow. But so far, this is just going so well for the Tyrant Zerg. He's not really sweating this game at all. Like, now that Snow has lost these Zealots out on the map, he's not going to have many more to keep committing. Like, you can see just a squad of 5 coming out. He knows he needs to do this to keep Jaedong stretched as thin as possible, but because he's not been so cost efficient with these maneuvers, he hasn't got many more assets to utilize to accomplish those goals. So this isn't as big of a threat for Jaedong to worry about.
Ooh, another drop into the main. Much smaller one this time. He's going to drop out some of these Hydras. Looks like he may end up losing some of the Overlords on the way out. Okay, one ends up going down. The rest do escape, but you can see Jaedong's game plan. No Mutalists being made. Instead, just a massive supply lead and a ton of Hydras and Lurkers on the high ground just defending any potential push out from Snow. He's actually lacking a little bit on forces over at this area. Could do well to actually rally everything over to that location, because if Snow manages to break up onto that high ground, this game could turn around. It could start to turn around. If Snow gets up here and Jaedong doesn't take a good trade into the army, things can start to flip on the head. Snow's pushing out in a very interesting direction, trying to take his whole army out to the side here. Lurkers dropping behind the mineral line, gonna force the probes back. And I mean, Snow just can't attack the other direction. He has to come down here to deal with this.
Yeah, like, that's so clever by Jaedong. Like, he would probably want to do this kind of play anyway, but the reality is that it kind of forces Snow to keep tactically withdrawing to make sure this base stays alive and thriving. Like, he's mined out on his natural. His main has got a little trickle left in it. And now Snow will be effectively on 1 base worth of economy against a 4 base Zerg. Snow needs to desperately try and get an additional base online. He's going to go and try and get this 12 o'clock set up. But that means he's also going to be spread a little bit thin, trying to come out on the map here. Jaedong's going to find, pincer maneuvers and try and shave off some of the High Templars when he can. At the moment, though, Snow still has a fighting chance in this game, but it does still look a little bit bleak, especially because he got that Forge killed. He's been stuck on 1-1 upgrades for such a long time, which really helps out this this Battle Zerg configuration. Oh, he sacrifices 2 High Templars there. He can't afford to like lose these units so ineffectively because he's only on 2 gases, and that they're about to be dried up in a few minutes too.
Yeah, and I mean, Jaedong is still a little ways off from drying up on any of these. Oh my god, what are these storms, Shun? Well, a few more Hydras do manage to slip in towards the top center, so actually this is going to get shut down. All the probes are going to die here, despite getting some of the most insane storms there on that ramp. It seems like Snow's running out of gas, and Jaedong is closing in from all directions.
Yeah, now Snow has the +2 weapons upgrade after he's just lost a significant portion of his army, barely mining at all, and was unsuccessful in securing that additional gas expansion. Snow's just gonna have to try and run it down on Jaedong, maybe knock out the 6 o'clock base or something, put the pressure back onto the Zerg, and hopefully starve out the Zerg a little bit in the game. This is a good map to go for that kind of attrition-style warfare, but Snow's already in a lot of trouble. He's going to take the bottom right as his 4th instead, because it'll be easier for his army to recover that position after assaulting the 6 o'clock base. But, you know, Jaedong's not going to let him get away with this for free. If he fully commits into this 6 o'clock base, there's going to be a massive wraparound where Jaedong cuts off the path of retreat and could even go after the mineral expansion, or at least shut down this base that could come out in the bottom right.
Ooh, the drop into the main, cutting off the army at the same time, getting in behind it. Jaedong's not actually maneuvering this. He needs to make sure not to get stormed brutally as he tries to get this engagement. That storm is insane. So many Hydras just died there. And just pure Lurkers not quite going to cut it. I think Snow wins the fight against all of these Lurkers here in a moment. He is going to clear this out. Still, Jaedong killing a lot in the main, and there's not that many Dragoons left. We're really on 1 base mining right now for Snow, and Jaedong is technically on 3. Even saved the hatchery bottom center, by the way, despite losing every drone.
Right. Yeah, and Jaedong's taking the top left base as well to supplement as the main and naturals start to get a little bit lower. The Zergs do tend to mine out, you know, a few minutes later than the other races, so it's a good time to expand and start filtering drones to new expansions. Finally, Snow getting a 4th base plopped down here in the bottom right, but dangerously low on supply. Both players are very low on supply. This is what we see on match point a lot, where both players are kind of locked in this maneuver warfare that's also a battle of attrition at the same time. Looks like another drop going to be coming out from Jaedong. He's identified that all of Snow's eggs are in one basket. Down here in the bottom right, there's probably not a lot that can respond to this drop. A lot more critical infrastructure could be killed. Some High Templars are popping out. They have the amulet upgrade, so won't be too long until they have storms available. But right now, Snow distracted trying to get this base online.
Yeah, like how much stuff is actually going to be incrementing out of the gateways for Snow at this point when he's so low on income? Diving forward here, getting a couple of High Templars. That's a big trade of Hydras, but Jaedong can afford to trade at a bit of a deficit with how much of a lead he has at this point. He's killing off a bunch of gateways. Joke's on him, though. Snow doesn't even need those gateways. He can barely afford to produce off of 4 at the moment. DT sneaks in. Oh boy, DT going to work. Ooh. Over at the mineral only. And you know what? Jaedong is super low on drones. At the end of the day, he really does not have that much economy left over. It looks like he's going to catch this DT. If the DT got to top left, man, that would actually be potentially a game-winning maneuver. But since that base in top left is still going strong, I think Jaedong can still hold this.
Yeah, it's oversaturated here in the top left as well. He's got like a good 25 or so drones in that mineral line. He just doesn't want to saturate the 6 o'clock for a little bit longer, so he doesn't have to keep covering multiple angles of attack from Snow. But it was great that Snow managed to pick up a lot of drone kills at the mineral only. Jaedong will eventually start to go back to saturating some of these bases yet again. That will take a little bit of the wind out of his sails. Maybe enough time for Snow to come out onto the map and keep launching more assaults on these bases. Some drones were made for the gas at the 6 o'clock. Looks like Jaedong's going to go for a counterattack of his own. Try and see if he can get him into the bottom right pocket expansion. But Snow's on top of it. He's got a rally coming from the north and his main army coming from the west to sandwich this army of Jaedong, and was able to replace that Templar archives critically. So Snow's not out of this just yet, and honestly the supplies kind of reflect a fairly even game. And if Jaedong can't kill this base in the bottom right, you know, Snow's got a strong fighting chance.
Man, some of these fights must have gone even worse than I thought for Jaedong. And, you know, maybe he overdropped a little bit into the main of Snow. Right. But Snow is making this comeback happen right now in kind of a spectacular way by not only getting a little bit of a sneaky drop in, but by taking his engagements super carefully and responding to every threat, especially the drops into the main, in a really precise manner. He's now managed to retake this peninsula here at the bottom right, trying to hold that off with just a few storms and quite a few dragoons. Looks like he may end up losing this DT, or this High Templar, excuse me, HT. No, that does manage to survive. 3 High Templars down here and 2 Archons. I don't think you're breaking that, Jaedong. You might have to look towards more bases and extending this game out further if he wants to win.
Yeah, Jaedong's in a little bit of trouble now. It's going to be so tough to break into these expansions of Snow. And Snow's done a great job of trading overall. And that's, you definitely need to do that on this map.
My God.
Oh, the DT.
The DT. The DT. Okay, he sees it. He sees it. There's just that Overlord was moving out of the base right as the DT was coming in, man.
Oof. Crisis averted. Actually picks up an Archon kill in the bottom right as well. No more Archons to deal with down here. But there is still High Templars and some cannons. You gotta respect that. This is just such a nail-biter of a game. Like, Snow's done a great job of being scrappy. And, you know, you kind of do need to build a ladder out of chaos on maps like this. And the scrappy game favors the Protoss more often than not. And, you know, Jaedong kind of got a little bit complacent. He was so far ahead in the economic curve that he was just throwing army at Snow, but the storms were just too good. And now Jaedong's going to have to be a little bit more tentative about how he engages with Snow. Is he going to be eyeing up another drop, or... I think he did just load up some Overlords. I'm not sure.
Might have been a missed opportunity from Jaedong not doing that bit of a Hydra, or that, excuse me, muted tech switch when the opportunity presented itself earlier on when the Corsairs all died. There was definitely that option to quickly switch into Mutas and dive the High Templar. Would have avoided a lot of these brutal storms. He's going in for a drop down at the bottom right. This is the final maneuver from Jaedong. If this doesn't work out, he's probably going to end up tapping. Snow is moving forward with his army, turns around, sees the Overlord. The number of Overlords coming in right now is kind of crazy. Probes are going to be pulled off the line, but there are lurkers here. You cannot engage with that. Oh, a great storm right on top of that important clump of units that dropped right inside the mineral line, and everything gets cleared. I think that's gotta be it. GG is called. Jaedong taps out. Snow takes game number 2. Okay, fantastic. We've got Light versus Snow next, with Light spawning in the top right, Snow in the bottom right. This should be a very nicely this should be a very nice even match, honestly. Shun, these guys have been on top of their game recently. Really looking forward to who comes out on top here.
Yeah, this could be a very exciting match. And what a game from Snow. I mean, damn, like, you could chalk that up a little bit to Jaedong's complacency after he got ahead, but honestly, you can't take anything away from Snow. This was a great comeback for him. Looks like it's going to be a gateway in the natural expansion to put some pressure onto Light right away, and he's scouting in the correct direction. Already a bit of a win for Snow here to start things off against Daddy Terran himself. He's not going to be there in time for a gas steal, but being able to identify the exact location of the Terran, do a bit of probe harass is a big deal. Like, look how long this barracks is going to take to finish up. He can do a lot of harassment to this SCV and force lost mining time for Light to try and come out and defend against this. And gonna have a quick Zealot to put on the pressure right away as well.
This is some nice damage, of course. Snow, anytime he gets the early probe in the base is a pain in the butt. This is also pretty good control from Light there, getting on top of that probe and bullying it back out of the mineral line. Not bad. Didn't have to pull too many SCVs here to try and stop that. Being very efficient with how he's pulling. Getting some repair down on these two SCVs. Doesn't want to leave a opening here for Snow to try and capitalize on with the Zealot here in a second. Is he going to lose this? Looks like he does lose the probe there. A little bit of poor pathing as he's leaving the base. Only a single Marine, though, and some of these SCVs are low. There's opportunities in this base for Snow.
Yeah, there's a missed opportunity not getting another particle beam shot off on that Marine, but he thought he could get out with the probe. Had he known that probe was doomed to die, he would have committed to doing more damage to Marine so the Zealot could kill it in 2 punch combinations. But, you know, Light looks like he's handling it pretty well. He's got an SCV as well as these 3 Marines, so the SCV is going to body block and allow him to dispatch the early pressure here from Snow. Vulture will be popping out in just a moment. Now there's 2 Zealots, but you have to respect that this Vulture's about to pop out, so Snow's going to pull back those Zealots to keep them alive in time for this Dragoon to support.
Yeah, it looks like he's not going to lose the Zealots here to that Vulture popping out. But now the Vulture gets out here, has a bit of map control. Snow's got to be really careful that this doesn't slip by into his main base and cause him a lot of issues. 5 Marines on that high ground. It's pretty important. Very hard for Snow to do much about that. CC on the high ground. We rarely ever see it, but Light feels like he can't quite push down just yet.
Yeah, this is a good micro win for Snow in a sense. Like, the CC's actually starting before the Nexus, so that's never good for the Terran, but the fact that he at least has to make it on the high ground mitigates some of that deficit here for the Protoss. Ideally, he would love to skirmish with Light if Light tried to push down the ramp and take it on location, but this is a little bit of compensation going to Snow. But overall, this does slightly favor Light with the timing of the CC. He hasn't really lost anything to the initial commitment of these 2 Zealots. Like, everything is looking pretty good for Light. Does need to be careful though. When this second Dragoon joins this force, you don't want to be pushing out against that. He's going to retreat to the safety of his high ground, knowing that Snow does have a timing with 2 Zealots and 2 Dragoons to bully this army a bit. Going to have to be a little bit tentative about when he finally pushes down.
Oh boy, that Dragoon pops out, but it doesn't turn. Snow not on top of his rallies. He lets the Vulture into the main base, and he should lose upwards of 3 probes here. Oh, nice block. Oh, really nice block, actually. Pushing away that Vulture, and man, this got shut down way better than expected. Excellent pylon block from Snow.
Yeah, like, it's really bad that he let the Vulture get in unchallenged with the Dragoon popping out and not quickly returning fire and running into the main base. But what a great probe pull and setup with that pylon to stop crazy amounts of losses. I think he lost 1 single probe during all of that, despite some lost mining time. Great damage mitigation all around from Snow. Light, though, still in a pretty prime position. Just needs to make sure he doesn't make any missteps for the time being. He's already taken a few pot shots at this army of Snow, softening up a couple of those Dragoons. I wonder how quickly Light's going to want to expand in this game. Like, you can kind of do what you want with Terran. Like, you don't have to go 5 factory into third base. Like, you could do a 6 factory push. You could do a 3 factory pressure play. Seeing how delayed the Nexus was from Snow, though, you kind of probably want to play a bit more middle of the road as Terran. You don't need to go crazy with a 6 factory here. Like, look how late this third base is. It's close to 7 minutes. So yeah, I don't think that Light should go for something like a 6 factory. I would like a more mid-range 5 factory from him.
Well, it's hard for him to figure out what's happening on the map without any comsats and no vultures out here, so he looks for a hole and finds it, sending 2 vultures out on the map to get that information. He sees the timing on the Nexus. What will his follow-up be? What's his decision now? Gonna get a shot of that here soon in the main. No added factories just yet, but trying to slip out any more vultures seems a bit suicidal. Everything looks locked up right now for Snow.
Yeah, and now that Light has identified the timing of that third base, I think he's going to be feeling very comfortable in the game state. If he is going to be going up to 5 factories, he does need to start making them now. He does seem to be either delaying that or not going for it at all. I'm curious about what exactly Light wants to do in this game. I think we're going to see some of those production facilities go down now. You have to yeah, I think he did just go up to 5 factories all at once, and this is about as late as you can do that and still feel comfortable as Terran. But he knows that not only is Snow not going to have the strongest economy, but won't be producing a crazy amount of army for the time being. Snow's got an observer inside the main base, identifies those additional factories coming down. It's actually a probe throwing down a spotter pylon at the 3 o'clock, which is interesting because he should know that there's not going to be a dropship here out from Light, but he has a lot of respect for Light. Light is one of the guys that is known for going for vulture drops so often in this matchup. I guess he's just covering his bases for later on in the game where Light might try and do a delayed drop into the main base of Snow ahead of time. But honestly, like, at the moment, that pylon is not really necessary. And actually, it is going to be a 6 factory play here from Light. What is it with Terrans, man? They have been loving going for this 6 factory play as of late.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is exactly. Really favoring this timing attack. I feel like it's kind of an own goal when you're going up against a player like Snow. It really feels like he has all the tools to shut this down. As long as he's got the Reaver out and he's able to get a reasonable number of gateways up in time. Hard to push across the map with just a few Goliaths, and you're only going to possibly have +1 at this point too. Yeah, we're already seeing it. Reaver shot goes off. He gets a first kill on one of these tanks. Light's going to have a very hard time pushing with this 6 factory, man. As long as Snow's on top of his game, it's going to be super hard.
Yeah, a bit of a mistake from Light not to click the tank onto the Reaver. The Zealot popped out to eat the shot just in the nick of time, rather than getting some damage onto that Reaver to have more pushing potential, and Snow not being able to slow down this advance for too long. Already Snow starting to navigate this push. But, you know, he's not out of the woods yet. This is still pretty scary timing from Light. He's actually trying to body block some Dragoons and lay down mines. Really low shuttle. Does actually kill the shuttle and the Reaver. This is a big turning point now for Light. Snow in a little bit of trouble. He has not got enough gateway army on the ground to completely squash this push. And without the Reaver support, forcing a lot of sieges from Light, he could be in a bit of danger here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to come in from multiple angles. Wait, no, he didn't push in from the left side here. So only pushing in with the right-hand side, a bit of mismanagement from Snow. Poor coordination there on getting these 2 armies to move, and he's still waiting for another Reaver to pop out. He doesn't have any Zealots to try and challenge this, and Light is already in the pocket. This is the dangerous position where you never want to allow the Terran to get into here on Attitude, and Light has just set up perfectly at this position. Diving in with the shuttle, he drops his Zealot, but only gets one out. Meanwhile, coming in from the left-hand side, and the mines are actually connecting all over this, you can see how hard it is to break a Terran once they're in this spot.
Yeah, he's got some Zealots trickling out. I think they just got their leg enhancements, but he's already dried up the majority of his infantry. Hasn't really got a lot to fight this back. Ariva slugging it out on the ground, trying to help out and get some Scarab connections. Not really doing a whole lot here. A lot of trouble right now for Snow. Scan comes out to clean up the DT. Light is very close to forcing Snow to tap out in this game. If he gets entrenched in this position and sets up turrets, it's almost impossible to break out of this situation, and it does look like the writing's on the wall here for Snow. It doesn't look like he's got enough units to challenge this, and Light, undeterred, will be strengthening this contain and stranglehold on the Protoss more and more.
There it is. GG is called. Snow taps out. Light takes a victory away with that 6 factory. I mean, I don't know if it's Snow playing worse with his Reavers, or if it's these Terran players who are getting better at shutting him down, stopping him from, you know, delaying those pushes, but it seems to be working more and more as time goes on. All right, guys, we've eliminated 1 player per race so far. Coming up next, it's Hero. Sorry, I was having a hard time reading there. Okay. Yes, with that dark blue. Hero in the top left. We got Light down here in the bottom right. And, I mean, what do you think is going to happen in this one, Shun? Are we going to have Hero playing at above his expected level? He certainly seemed to do so this season.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with Hero. I'm a big fan of Hero, though, so I'll always be hoping that he can play well. But, I mean, at the end of the day, our predictions are, you know, just a bit nonsensical, and no one really knows what's going to happen. No. You know, it's kind of like an educated guess. So, yeah, I'm not going to subscribe to what's probably going to happen between these two. I just hope that Hero plays well. Big fan of the guy. Used to be known as Mr. Consistent. Was like, you know, number 2 Zerg in the world for quite a long time, and, you know, was in a bit of a slump as of late. Hope it's not going to be the case for too much longer for this guy. He's actually opening up with a kind of a safety pool here, like maybe anticipating some aggression out of Light, like a BBS or an 8-Rax, and actually Light playing a gas expansion. And we've seen a lot of this play from Terrans, and with the wall in as well, you know, this could be a 2-port Wraith or something, who knows.
Yeah, this could be another 1-1-1 play. We could see all kinds of different stuff, man. This is just such a versatile opener. Terran versus Zerg. I think the most open style. What would you like to say? Like the matchup that has the most branches, right? If each matchup was a tree, this is like a crazy tree with just so many branches, like a willow tree with tons and tons of different opportunities sprouting out in different angles. And it's generally the Terran player who gets to choose the pace. Sometimes that's a little bit different. Like if the Zerg opens with Lurker, it totally changes the game. Also, if Zerg wants to try and just go straight into Crazy Zerg, it can be a totally different match. But for the most part, Terran gets to pick the initial pace, and it's Zerg that has to kind of adapt and figure out what's going on. And he is going to find that out now with his first fuelings. The wall in here from Light, going to show him everything he needs to know.
Well, I like semi-disagree with that statement. Like, it depends on the Terran's opening. Like, if he goes for a gas expansion like this, as a gas opening like this, then yes, the Terran is the one kind of dictating the tone of the game. But if it's a more orthodox style from the Terran, where he's doing just like a 1-Rex FE, if it's a 2 hatchery base play from the Zerg, then it's actually the Zerg setting the tempo and the tone of the game. It's only if the Zerg plays like a 3 hatchery style where the Terran kind of has the the world will become their oyster kind of thing. But this particular opening for the Terran does take the driver's seat away from the Zerg a lot.
I see what you're saying there, Shun. Yeah. It's such a dynamic matchup, man. That's why it's my favorite. So much fun to watch, so much fun to play. Such a knife's edge when both sides have such high DPS and such low HP. Unlike the Protoss, where you've got, that kind of high value, high armor, lot of HP to work with. Both these two races, everything dies so quickly. Things get decided in such a quick manner, in a matter of seconds. It really does lead to so many interesting and very high octane situations. Now, Light is threatening here at the front with his vultures. Could potentially try to run by. You cannot build a building, enough buildings to fully wall this in, because there's a gap on the right hand side there. And so, he's not even gonna try. Jaedong is not even gonna try to completely block this in. Excuse me, Hero's not even gonna try to completely block this in. I said Jaedong because this actually looks very similar to a game we watched recently, with Light looking to run by, but he's actually gone for a dropship. Okay, gonna drop into the main. Is Hero gonna be ready for this? He's almost gonna spot it with the Overlord, but takes a bit of a turn there. Gonna pick up, and it looks like Hero is anticipating a play like this. He's got Lings in the main, checking out. He pulls them back though at the last moment. Oh my god, the Overlord! No, the retreating vision. Huge.
That's huge. Yeah, the Mutalisks are going to make a beeline for that. It does look like this drop is going to get somewhat shut down effectively, but we'll be getting a couple of drone kills still. This isn't like all for nothing here from Light, just not as much damage as possibly could have occurred. So, he's going to kill like, 4 drones rather than like 7 or 8 or something along those lines. And yeah, I actually do like this variation from Light. When I see Terrans opening up this style, I always am considering, are they going to do the dropship variation just as the Mutalisks are popping out? The Mutas, if they go straight for the Terran's base as the Vultures are popping out inside the main, can do so much damage because the Mutas then have to turn around again to come and save the day, which means even more drones are going to die. And that also buys you time as a Terran to, set up your turrets and what have you back at home, so you can cut them for a little bit longer. And it looks like another follow-up drop here from Light. Kind of insane. And the Mutalisks are en route to pick this up, but I'm not even sure there's much loaded up into this. Is he just faking him out? It looks like he is just faking him out. And he's going to lose the dropship for it, but, means he needs to make even less turrets back at home for the time being. Maybe not wanting to utilize this dropship later on, so just wants to slow down the Zerg while he gets set up back at home and makes a ton of barracks.
Yeah, that's buying time for his Irradiate to come online as well. Like, if you come in with the first group of mutas, you just arrived, and you get hit with an Irradiate in the face, like, it feels so bad. You really lose out on a lot of your momentum, and he actually has it here in 2 seconds. Yeah. Okay, not able to throw that down initially, but should be able to shut out these mutas. Now, there could be a dive here from Hero. He might put this all together and just try to go in fully. He does. Dives in. Beautiful play from Hero. Dropping the Irradiate there. Absolutely not worth it. He's going to go again. 2. Oh, my goodness. 2 in a row. You're kidding me, Hero. Getting a massive win there. Actually shutting down the first 2 vessels. Dude, Light keeping those in position. What a poor move from him.
Oh my gosh, that was so good from Hero. he's going to be feeling on top of the world right now. He couldn't have hoped for a better scenario against a Terran. Like, sure, you lost a few drones to the dropship, but you didn't lose that many, and now you've killed the first 2 vessels as well. He's having an absolute field day right here. He isn't technically, you know, killing SCVs or anything like that, but those first 2 vessels are just gold dust for the Terran. He's going to be just macroing up behind this. Going to be popping out some lurkers soon. Got the hive on the way. Going to be a very traditional style from Hero as a follow-up, and has another Scourge in this stack of Muta to potentially snipe another vessel in conjunction with a volley from the Mutas. But it's going to be a lot harder to accomplish that going forward. Right now, Light's starting to move out with a pretty sizable contingency of this Bioforce. He's going in for the snipe. He gets it! Oh my god! 3 vessel kills by 9 minutes? Are you kidding me, Hero? What is happening? This guy is playing good today.
Oh, disgusting. Oh my gosh, so much damage. For what is this, 7 mutas as well? 7 mutas,
Yeah,
3 pairs of Scourge. He's killed nearly all of the vessels so far. There's 1 left, and it's just used its only irradiate. So what are the chances of him actually breaking through anywhere? Very, very low. Plus, I think that Hero, you know, with a surround here, with enough units, might be able to just shut this down completely. Tank Marine is pretty hard to engage into with the Ling Lurker, but if you have enough of it, you can absolutely wipe it out. It's just like what I was talking about earlier. If the engage goes the right way for one side, it's insane how fast you can wipe your opponent out.
Yeah, Hero's kind of threatening the idea of an engagement, but I think he's mainly just trying to buy time for the Defiler to pop out and get the consume. He might try and come in at an angle on this ridge if Light is out of position. We'll see if he wants to commit to that now. There is a bit of reinforcement showing up for Light, but I think the aim of the game here for Hero is to just slow things down a little bit. Not to fully commit to a fight, just to kind of force some sieges, slow Light down. Defilers should be just about out. Nidus Canal set up. Consume is a few seconds away. Has some Scourge sharking around to see if he can dive in on this vessel. Not able to get it. Light is going to start knocking on the door right as Hero is fully set up. Lurkers coming from behind. A little bit of a split surround with those Marines. We'll shave off a few of those Lurkers. Where is this Defiler, man? It should be out now. Consume should just about be finished, and if he pops it through the Nidus, he should be able to save the day.
Those tanks are hitting the Lurkers up on the high ground. Defiler pops out. Lurkers are here at the front. Where's the Consume? There it is. Consume goes down. Dark Swarm on this hatchery, and the Lings will finally be able to push things back, but this was incredibly close. We almost saw Hero break after doing all that great work earlier with the Mutas and Scourge. Flank here of Lurkers. It looks like it's going to be taken care of. No, the vessels go out of range, and he actually loses way more than he should. Now the Lings can start to clean up the tanks up on this high ground. Dude, this went really, really bad for Light all of a sudden when he lost vision of those Lurkers for just a moment.
Yeah, the vessels were slightly out of range of detecting them. Does use a D-Matrix to save one of those tanks, but that's energy he'd rather not waste as well. CC on the way here for Light to float over to this mineral only in a few moments, but Hero is held. And you can see how close that attack was to working. It was so important that Hero slowed down Light just a little bit leading up to that point of the game. Now Hero needs to keep Light from getting entrenched in a forward position, so he's going to keep leapfrogging out with these Cheeto dust clouds, keeping Light back from ever getting close to one of these expansions, and give himself some breathing room in this game while he also tries to line up a 4th gas, going for that base at the 12 o'clock. A lot of macro hatcheries coming down for Hero, also that Ultralisk Cavern starting. If he is successful at getting this 4th gas online, Light is going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah, his overall vessel count has been lowered by a whole lot, and so Light is running in a bit of a deficit here. He's gonna have a hard time breaking through any of these positions. You can see he's only got enough irradiates for the Defiler, and then he's got to back out again. Whereas right now he should have like 5, 6 total vessels on the field. He's only got the 3, so he's really having a hard time pushing through any of these spots, and it's going to get worse for him as this extra gas comes online. He's trying to expand forward. He actually sent an SCV to center right to go for the double expand. It looks like he's going to stick with Marine Tank. That might be a good plan here, considering that there are a lot of different locations that Hero does need to continuously defend. Also, you've got these big long ridge lines that could be very strong should Light be able to take over those areas and really set up a strong position. He's going to try to push forward right now with a lot of fire bats. That's not enough Marines to actually stop the Scourge, I thought, but look at that. He immediately annihilates the Scourge. V-Matrix on this fire bat, shoving forward right through everything. One Lurker pops up, but that's not going to be enough. This Lurker's going to go down so quickly. Everything falling apart here as that random run of fire bats makes its way forward and just crushes through everything.
Oh, man, really good attack there from Light, but that's a beautiful plague. Finding some compensation. Nidus Canal did go down for Hero, so he needs to stay on top of this army and not get caught with his pants down for the time being. Very close to taking critical damage was Hero there for a second, but manages to stabilize for the time being. But Light not double expanding. He's going to instead gamble a bit with some dropships. I'm not sure he saw those dropships going to the 12 o'clock. Might be able to get an execution order on this hatchery just as he starts to mine this 4th gas. There is a stream of units coming up here from Hero. Light a little bit slow in the stim and target fire on this hatchery. Maybe there's a way of Hero saving this.
Oh my god, is he actually going to save it? Target the hatch,
looks like
target the hatch. Oh, so close. We're not getting a click on the hatchery, but I think it was incredibly low there. Finally, Ultras are starting to pop out. Dude, Hero has been holding on by a thread this entire game, and it's starting to look like he's pulling ahead. He's up to 100 supply, and the Ultras are finally out.
Yeah, he's done it, man. Like, he's starting to navigate. He's getting a few of those vessel kills as well with the Scourges. Critical. Light really delayed going for his own 4th gas, so was really committed to doing damage to Hero. Now we have the Ultralisks out. Light without the +3 weapons just yet to boot. And, you know, with these plagued vessels, one single Scourge able to take out a few of those. Oh, look at, here comes the rotation from Light. I was right about the HP of the hatchery. It was banging the median of my 300 to 400 prediction. He does get the snipe on that. Really well done from Light to actually get a kill and a slowdown on the gas income of Hero, but he's not out of the woods yet. He has to keep this pressure onto Hero while he takes his own 4th base to stabilize this position. But so far, so good for Light. He's starting to come back in the game ever so slightly. Slowing down the growth of the Zerg is critical while he gets himself online.
Yeah, that 4th base is going to come up, man. I don't know. This is a great showing from Hero, but I think this speaks even more volumes about Light's skill level. The fact that he lost so many vessels in the early game, and he's still this powerful in the mid game, able to pull Hero to and fro and just make his life so miserable. This is really impressive. Now the Ultras get down here into bottom center. They shut down the mining here. He's not going to be able to just send the vessels because those Scourge were brought along. That's a really good heads-up play from Hero to bring those vessels along. But back at home, he does not have very much defense at this base. His center left, there's quite a few fire bats here. The Lings alone are not going to cut it. That hatchery is going down. The hatchery falls. Huge victory here for Light. But at the same time, counterattack coming around the map. Ultras making their way into the natural. A lot of these forces are going to get cleaned up in center left, and that hatch at top center is nearing completion.
Yeah, +5 armor on these Ultras, so they tank a lot. Light should just barely have his +3 online any moment now. There it is. Has got another CC that he could float to the 3 o'clock as well. If he can just stabilize this position, he's already done a lot of the workload that he needs to in this game, plus 2 melee upgrades kicking in for Hero as well. But Light not yet mining any additional gas on these bases for the time being. Hero could still run away with this game. If he gets a few good plagues, some Dark Swarms in the rally point of the Terran, he can still run away with it. Some Scourge coming in to try and pop some of these vessels. And it looks like Hero gradually encroaching on the Terran position, and because Light is in survival mode after doing all of that damage, Hero has a good opportunity to come back here, but he's not really mining a whole lot himself. He's only got 3 gases online and only 2 bases mining minerals. He's trying to do a lot with a little and keeping the Terran as small as possible.
He's at least stopping him from mining here, and here comes another small trickle of ultras. This Defiler is still alive, Shun. This Defiler is everything right now. Dark Swarm in the natural is massive. The fact that Light wasn't able to deal with that earlier has absolutely blown this game wide open. The ultras make their way in, and this slow trickle of only a few ultras at a time may actually be the thing that breaks the camel's back here. Light is trying to hang on, desperately pulling SCVs out, sending them to the 3rd base. He's trying to get a trickle of income to keep this fight going, but ultras are here in the natural, and they can't really be contended with because of that one Dark Swarm. Finally, that runs out. He's going to bring the Marines forward, but what is really left at the end of the day? Almost nothing here to defend, and the slow trickle of ultras making its way across the map is overwhelming Light.
Yeah, Hero really needs to transfer drones from the main to the 3rd base, but he's so tunnel visioned on this attack on Light. He knows this is the most important thing to focus on, and he forces the tap out from Light. What a game from Hero. Light was playing exceptionally well, and Hero managed to identify a win condition despite losing hatcheries multiple times, siphoning off his gas income. I want to see how well Hero's going to play against a Protoss player next, because, I mean, that was a much better showing from Hero than we're used to.
Very solid back and forth there between Hero and Light. I'm pretty shocked by how good Light was playing in that game, man. The Fire Bat push into the natural felt like the breaking point from Hero, but he displayed some excellent fortitude, sticking with it and keeping himself together, you know, bouncing back and forth between center left and top center over and over again to try and keep that defense up. Managed to pay off in the end with the few remaining drones, able to just smash that push down the middle and knock out Light. Now he's here against Stork on Jane Doe and looks to be opening with an 11 hatchery.
Yeah, this is a very spicy map. Very different than what we usually see, especially in PvZ. Protoss players able to delay their forge and cannon so much longer than usual because of that high ground defensive setup, and you can kind of just put zealots on the ramp to protect against the Zerglings early game. Means you can be so much more optimized in your build order and how fast you take your Nexus and what have you. We've also seen some spiciness from Zergs on this map, a few 1-base builds, either 1-base Muta or 1-base Lurker play. And it does kind of offer the most craziest dynamic range of build orders and styles in this matchup in particular. This could be an exciting one, Sam.
Yeah, this could be really solid, opening up with that Zealot coming across the map to put on a bit of pressure. We've seen it time and time again. Zealot into Nexus can kind of skip over the Forge here and get into a very quick Nexus and into a very fast Stargate. Getting the probe inside is actually quite big, though. That probe slipping by into the main, very nice from Stork to be able to see that there's no shenanigans coming here, and he doesn't have to worry about, some 1-base style nonsense from Hero. Instead, going to be opening with 3 hatchery before getting into that gas. A few Lings pop out to try and deal with this Zealot, but he gets a kill. Wasn't sure if that probe was actually going to be connecting there, but it gets the 2 shots off to help with the 2-hit kill from Stork's Zealot. This Zealot does fall, but one early drone is such a big difference maker in this matchup.
Yeah, having that probe effectively gives the Zealots +1 if you're doing it right, able to kill things in 2 shots rather than 3. Hero was floating the Overlord over the medic in the wall to make it so that he could keep the scout out of his base and deny something like this from being too effective by sandbagging it and buying a few extra seconds for lanes, but was unsuccessful in that, but does end up losing a drone in the end. So nice little pickup there for Stork. He's got the back expansion online, he's taken his second gas, and as you can see, he's very much delaying a forge and cannons, so he's going to be pretty damn well optimized throwing down that Stargate at 4 minutes 10. And looks like Hero's just going to be in macro mode, throwing down a 4th hatchery in the natural. Going to be pretty much on nothing but drone production for quite some time, and this could be a very solid macro game.
Yeah, we do end up seeing quite a few, big macro games on this map. A lot of times we get Hydralisk, 4 or 5 hatch Hydra from these Zergs, because you can pretty well defend everything from one base. If you're just holding down that 3rd. Oh, sorry.
There's no lair. This is lairless style from Hero.
I think he just started the layer there in the main. Yeah, there it is. Layers on the way, but it is going to be, I think, a Hydralisk base play, at least to defend early on. It is just such a strong play when you don't need to defend Overlords at your 3rd. You can build just the bare minimum number of Hydras, maybe 1 sunken colony to defend against some early Zealot pressure, and drone behind it to such a high degree that you just get into another level of macro. It's very hard for the Protoss to contend with.
Yeah, I used to like this Zerg style a lot. I love 4 hatchery before lair builds. I'll even sometimes do 4 hatchery before gas builds. That's really fun as well. Gives you just so much of a springboard in the mid game with how much economy you have. You're kind of playing the Zerg race in a different way then, when you've got more workers than just 1 per patch that you can utilize if you want to. Seems like Hero's kind of doing like a middle of the road of that approach. Like, he's not going to be making a crazy amount of drones, but he was able to drone up faster, and he might be going for a little bit of a more Hydra-centric style. I don't think he's necessarily going to try and kill Stork with this Hydra build, but he will be able to put on a lot of pressure and make it so that Stork can't just quickly take a 3rd base.
Or just kind of hovering around the outside, but you can see here how a Hero can just defend his Overlords in 1 location. It just makes it so much easier. So much easier to keep everything alive. He sees the Zealots moving forward, can throw down an extra building in that wall, and again, it just makes it so difficult for Stork to really do anything. Like, if you put an evolution chamber in between the 2 hatches here, yeah, he's gonna throw it down. There it is, right there. Like, how do you get in here? How do you get in here as the Protoss player and actually do anything? He takes the engagement, but look at that. Only 1 Zealot can attack in this wall in here. He gets 1 Overlord, and he's gonna have to be happy with it. He backs away. Hero can now drone up pretty much uncontested, or he can try to push across the map, deny a 3rd. This is looking very good for Hero so far.
This is a very fast robo from Stork, by the way. I'm really curious. Like, is he going to try and do like a DT drop or something? Like, I kind of get the vibe that this is like a Ser DT style with maybe a DT drop in the main or the pocket expansion in the bottom left here. Like, that's what I'm smelling right now. Overlord speed is done, which will trigger the aggression from Hero. He wants to come and put on pressure and not let Stork set up this 3rd base for free, and well, he should, but I wonder, is Stork gonna, maybe get a shuttle out and try and get a DT into the main base or something? I don't see a shuttle just yet. There is a DT sharking around at this natural 4th location. At the moment, maybe not enough minerals for Stork to commit to a shuttle. But look at this. Like, Stork just can't take this expansion. Storm's just barely ready. But he has to retreat to the high ground.
Uh-oh. Cannon's gonna die. Cannon's dead. Zealots are now totally clogged up coming down this ramp. And he is gonna go for that. He is gonna try to get a DT in there. Into the base, but chances are he gets spotted as he's coming, you know, across the x-axis here, coming down across the map. Looks like he will barely manage to slip through. Yeah, nothing popping out for Hero at this moment, but I think Hero might just be turning his rallies around. He's still making units. He's not taking a fourth base or anything. But will he have an overlord in the main? Will he have an overlord in the third? It doesn't look like he has one right now, and maybe Stork can try to come down the ramp, you know, throw down a couple of storms and really annoy Hero right at this moment. He's coming down. Okay, he sees it. He sees it. He sees it right as Stork is coming down this ramp. He's going to start to react, but the storms are actually fantastic. Oh my god, the storms. So, I mean, even though the DT's not going to get that much damage, these storms do fantastic. The distraction tactic worked.
Yeah, the distraction was fantastic here for Stork, and I think I talked a lot when we first started having Jane Doe as a map that I thought that DT drop was a good style for this map, but we actually haven't seen it a whole lot, right? Like, this is one of the only times you've actually seen players go for this, but it works so much as just a distraction tactic as well, even if you're not doing a lot of damage with it. And now Stork is going to get this third base online. Hero nowhere near as comfortable in this setup as he was just a few moments ago. He lost so many Hydras in such a quick fashion. Looks like he's going to try and transition into a Muta Hydra style to try and stabilize, go after hunting down some of these High Templars, but there is an Archon for support despite there not being many Corsairs.
I guess the Mutas are going to head over towards the main. He might need to turn around here. Okay, the Sunken Colonies are finishing up just in the nick of time, it looks like. Not a lot of Hydras, though. And there is a High Templar making its way to the front. He just needs to pull away. Oh my god, this is a great storm. That killed so many Hydras. He pulls the probes back. He doesn't have a cannon there in the main either, so that's a bit of a problem. Should be able to make another Archon here shortly. Bit of a crazy base trade we're having right now as Dragoons start to come out. Looks like Stork has been mostly dealt with. Few more kills here on a few of these drones, but the hatchery, or excuse me, the Nexus should be saved.
Yeah, it looks like, well, actually the Mutas could theoretically fight this, but with the Corsairs there, no, like, you do have to back out. Stork just barely hanging on there at home. Did trade out a lot of probes despite getting technically broken in that third base of Hero. Overall, I think this slightly favors Hero, though. A lot of probes went down, man. And, oh, another DT drop in the back pocket expansion. Hero not paying attention. He was flicking through his main base and his third, but not this base in the bottom left until the last moment. So a lot of kills, 9 total on this DT before finally clearing it up. And I mean, I was going to say that this was a pretty good setup from Hero, but after losing those 9 drones just now, that's really evened things out.
Gets this one Overlord, but he might pay the price. A lot of these Corsairs pulling back just in the nick of time keeps most of them alive, or at least on low HP. A couple more cannons coming up at each base, realizing the threat from the Muta Scourge is very much real. Diving in on top of this, but Archons are already in position, shutting down everything, stopping this attack. And there's going to have to be a bit of a change here from Hero. He's switching back into Hydra, mass Hydra's production. He does not have a fourth base on the way, so he actually needs to get something done here. He needs to kind of shut down Stork, maybe kill this third base. Otherwise, he's just sitting on 3 base 3 gases to 3 base 3 gases. Oh my god, what a storm. Hero making some mistakes, and Stork is looking primed to take this game now.
Yeah, Stork is definitely starting to take a pretty significant edge as time develops, and no sign of that 4th base from Hero, and this shuttle is still out on the map. He's going to keep doing drops. Looks like Hero going to be going for a committed attack with the Mutalist in the top right again. There's just 2 cannons there, so the Mutalist can overwhelm that, but there are still Corsairs that could be sent to help save the day. Either way, he's probably going to lose a significant count of probes in the process. 4 Scourge to kind of buy a little bit of time for the Mutas, but actually 7 Corsairs here. He should be able to do a lot of damage to these Mutas. Hero actually splitting some off to go over the probe line so that most of the Mutas can make it out safely. Uh-oh. He actually did. Is that the Spire he just lost in the main base? That's not good.
Was that the evolution? Another evolution chamber? No, maybe a Spire.
No, it can't be. It's too small. Yeah, I think it's a Spire or a Creep. I think it was a Spire.
God damn, so much damage here from these continuous drops, and I don't really see this counterattack working too much. It's definitely not going to deal equivalent damage to Stork when what he really needs is overwhelming damage. He needs to destroy a base. He needs to kind of end the game here. And Stork is just going to be able to defend. He's going to have storms shortly. He's bringing the army back. And he's done massive damage to Hero. Looks like we're going to have a tap out here as soon as this army gets completely surrounded and annihilated. He does focus down an Archon, but man, oh man, he is still dropping inside this main. Is this a High Templar or a DT? High Templar with the storm. Doesn't get a very good storm there, but he should get a better one over at this base. Okay, pretty good dodge from Hero. Gotta give it to him. Still keeping his hopes alive in this game despite such a desperate situation.
Yeah, those are some pretty bleak hopes, though. I don't know, man. It's just like staring down the barrel at the current rate of progression of AI or something. There's not a lot of hope they're saying at the moment. He has got 5 Sunkens with a bunch of Hydras, but, you know, a couple of good Storms and Dragoons in good firing position. Stork should be able to break through this. Even an Archon here to help dish out some heavy damage with that Psionic Shockwave and some Corsairs to boot. This is not looking good for Hero. He's pretty much half the supply of the Protoss. Stork not looking quite like a skeleton of a dinosaur. He's got a lot of flesh on the bones yet again, despite his age and veterancy. Still able to put out such good games in 2026. You gotta take your hat off to him, man. This is a great showing from the Dino Toss, and Hero taps out. GG is called. Wow, really impressive stuff. That means we're going to be having Sark go up against Stork next. That's actually a really interesting matchup. I can't even remember the last time these 2 guys played.
Well, it's definitely been a while since we saw these 2 go head-to-head. Sark spawning in the bottom left. Stork at top center. Stork coming off of a strong win there. Breaking through Hero, who had a great opener, was able to, you know, get into a pretty decent position, but those DT drops, man, that continuous shuttle going in and out of the main base over and over again really gave Hero a massive headache, and he's going to be waking up with a hangover.
Yeah, and don't forget, we still got Soma waiting in the wings, licking his lips. No matter what happens, there's only 2 players that he'll have to dispatch to still bring 2 points home for the Zerg squad. But, you know, we've also got Mini in the Protoss dugout. We're ready to play. Mini, a very potent player in PvZ as well. Let's see what happens between these 2 gamers. Sark, the last Terran hope right now. He has been playing pretty fantastically well. Prevents the gas steal right off the bat from Stork. Kind of forced to take the gas at slightly earlier timing than he would like to before throwing down the barracks, but it does stop a hiccup in the game plan of Sark. If he really doesn't want to play Bunker Expand, you kind of have to do this. So, yeah, I can kind of respect it. And like I said, Sark has been playing way better in these recent times. So, he's going to give Stork a run for his money.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Sark in the mix once again. He definitely has leveled up recently and should be able to bring it to Stork here on Neo Sylphid. Some good control from Sock, just keeping this probe back and keeping that SCV healthy as much as possible. Very difficult to get in range there for the fusion cutter when the probe has that extra reach on you, but he's done a reasonable job. He's managed to get the factory out without too much delay, somewhere around 233, something like that, 234. 230. He's still got a 230 factory after all that harassment.
Yeah, but
goddamn, these players
Marines
are
are delayed.
so damn good.
Yeah, but his Marines are delayed, so the Zealot has more pressure potential here. Let's see how much damage he can get done in conjunction with this Zealot and probe. You can see, like, the second Marine pops out when the Zealot's already in his face, so does take a little bit of a deficit to his early game defense, despite getting the factory out crisply. But nice play here from Sark, tucking in the Sim City, gets the probe kill, shuts down some of this pressure. There is a second Zealot on the way. Actually went the long way around, so the SCV scout didn't see it. He might think this is just one single Zealot that he has to contend with, and gets a little bit bold, but we'll still have this Vulture out in a timely manner. Oh, it's going to be an engineering bay block from Sark. It's actually a really nice play right now to stop Stork from getting a greedy Nexus timing. The Dragoon will eventually clean this up, but I mean, it's going to take a while. Like, you can see he's even pulling probes off the line to try and deal with this. And is he actually committing the Dragoon to the front, and he's just going to leave the probes to deal with it? Like, I guess he really wants to escort these Zealots with the Dragoon to keep the pressure onto Sark rather than clearing out this engineering bay.
Yeah, the Dragoon doesn't... It does good damage, but it's not nearly as good as Zealots at dealing with the eBay. Diving on top of this backline, he's actually going to go right for the Vulture. Bunker finishes up, and the Marines do escape inside. I mean, trying to do what he can, but honestly, this hasn't worked out too well, and Sock's going to get his CC going only a mere seconds behind Stork in his Nexus timing.
Yeah. This is real StarCraft, where neither player is able to play on the rails, and they've kind of got to freestyle their build orders and make micro adjustments on the fly. I feel like this is when the game is at its purest, and you kind of see a lot of gamers fall apart when they have to do this. They're so used to you know, following a tree of usual behaviors that when they have to think outside of that box, it's not easy to navigate. They have to think of all of their timings in relativistic terms, which is so much harder to do in StarCraft. But so far, both players doing a pretty good job of navigating that. The Nexus wasn't that delayed from Stork, and because of the pressure from the Zealots and the Dragoon, it actually did slow down the CC by a significant margin, forcing the bunker out and SCVs to come off the line. This isn't the most optimized expansion timing from Sark, so this game is actually pretty interesting because both players are kind of messing with each other right off the get-go, and we're going to have a very unorthodox game to kick things off.
Bit of a gateway explosion here from Stork, not, you know, cutting corners. Trying to get out a very quick third Nexus, you know, off of one gate, one robo, something like that. We see that sometimes from players like Snow, but Stork is going to go for a very safe 3 gateway into Observer, about as safe as it can possibly be. Make sure that he has enough stuff to prevent Sock from just coming across the map and dealing a bunch of damage to him. But really, Sock is not planning to pull something like that off. He's not really gearing up for an attack like that. He's got an armory. He's got +1 on the way. He's only on 1 factory. We should probably see you know, Sock sit here and be very defensive for the time being, while waiting for these upgrades to come online.
Yeah, in theory, Sark could delay the eBay, cut turrets, keep making Marines, and go for something like a 4, maybe a 5 tank push. But the build order of Stork completely decimates a play like that. So it's quite smart for Sark to just sit back here and play a more orthodox style and getting a very early starport as well. He does not want to slow down his upgrades at all. This is definitely a bit more of a tech mech style. Hasn't got double armory yet, but we'll be having that tech online very soon to have a quick transition into a +2 weapons, and that's a very delayed second factory, so Stork might be feeling like he could potentially dive in here and maybe go for a tank snipe or something, but the setup looks pretty good from Sark. I don't think he should pull the trigger on punishing that positioning at the moment. It just looks way too deadly and entrenched, but he is going to instead just take this mineral only as his third. It's a little bit behind the curve though. Like, this is working out slightly better for Sark than Stork in terms of the tech tree.
Man, only 2 factories. He's already got his science facility on the way. I think we're going to see a dropship from Sark. You know, when you're playing this defensive and you're just focusing this hard on upgrades and getting into a late game, you kind of need to be a little bit active. Like, you got to do something to slow down the Protoss player. And so the drop really makes sense. Like, send in some vultures. You're really unlikely to be able to get anything done by just running around with vultures and poking at the Protoss player, but maybe he's not fully defended back at home. Maybe there's a way in to that main and you can get a bunch of kills and slow down the Protoss so that your late game transition, your like +2 timing can come in strong.
Yeah, it does look like that's going to be the order of business here from Sark. There's that second armory, so it is going to be a tech mech style, but we'll be going for a little bit of pressure with that dropship, and because of how slow this dropship is, it's kind of hard for the Protoss player to identify and defend against it. The Dragoons are kind of positioned back a bit, but they're not inside the main base. They're not going to be able to easily deflect this either. And yeah, this could do a lot of damage. The SimCity is pretty good from the Protoss, but he could just dump the vultures deep into the mineral line. Either way, there is a couple of Dragoons actually that are here to help respond to this, but with good target firing, you are going to kill quite a significant count of probes.
He got some really good probe kills here. At the same time, was building a Wraith back at home, it looked like. So the potential to deal damage, to deal counter damage from Stork, I mean, it's just not quite there. Like, he's got a shuttle just to the north of the base. I wonder if Sark knows about that, if he can get the Wraith on top of him. No, he went for a vessel. Wow. He went for a vessel this early.
Matrix. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
you're so low on gas. Like, he's gone into double armory on 2 gases.
Yeah, but you have to remember how much he delayed his factories though as well.
Right.
Like, this is still, it is tight, but it does still kind of all fit. And he's not going to make lots of vessels. Like, this is literally just one vessel to hunt down observers and to pool energy so that when there is a fight, you know, he's got a couple of D-matrixes available to him as well. It's actually very strong, and looks like another continuation drop here from Sark. This one will be a lot less successful. Only 2 vultures. There's a cannon in the mineral line now, and a couple of Dragoons again. So not going to be getting a whole lot. He's actually going to scoop up these vultures and get them out when they're pretty low on HP. Meanwhile, Stork taking a 4th base at the 3 o'clock location, trying to grow rapidly and leapfrog over the growth of Sark. And, you know, it is quite a delayed expansion here from Sark. Like, in the meta right now, we're seeing a lot of 9-minute 3rd base timings from the Terran. Because of the tech mech style, you know, that's slowed down by quite a few minutes. And I'm not even sure that he's trying to take the expansion right now. And there's a couple of speed shuttles going to be making its way into the main base. There is a couple of turrets here, but this could do a lot of damage to Sark. He was just thinking about moving out with his army. He will eventually clean this up, but not before losing a couple of SCVs. Maybe getting a bit supply blocked. Actually targeting the armory is Stork here with 2 Reavers. That's a lot of damage output. Just 2 more Scarab connections. Close to finishing it off here. Does get the kill on that. That's a big win for Stork. We don't know if that was the armory producing the weapons upgrade or the one in the natural was. Usually you'll make the armory in the natural produce the weapons upgrade. That's far less likely to die. But if Sark wasn't thinking about that and just made the upgrade as soon as possible, he actually just lost the massive timing.
I think he lost the massive timing, man.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, there's the armor upgrade coming online. Oh god. Well, that completely dismantles the idea from Stork, and that's a problem with going with a play like this. This has not been a very popular way to play Terran for quite a long time. You know, most players these days are going for a more... Oh gosh, he's gonna lose all of these, isn't he? Oh my gosh.
Close to it.
Oh, one more shot. Got it. Oh, so much damage. Yeah, lately Terran players have been going for just +1/+1. That's been the trend. +1/+1. Huge amounts of factories and just a lot of pressure. And you know, Sock, he opts for the older style, going for tech mech. It's hard to pull off because there are so many different plays like this can kind of dismantle you.
Yeah, and he's not even started the 2-2, by the way, on those armories in the natural. He's kind of just going through the motions of setting up his mid-game development, and the upgrade timings have kind of slacked a little bit as a result. I hope he started them just now. Nice little mind connection on some Dragoons, but Stork is not slowing down. Stork is going to take this bottom right base, maybe think about setting up an additional rally point, although that's not actually needed against a tech mix style. You're not as adamant about setting up that rally point at another main base early as much as you would usually be. So yeah, Stork can kind of have a bit of a field day in this game, but you know, it's easy to make mistakes against this style from Sark as well. It's possible that, you know, Stork gets a little bit complacent and just slams into him and loses a big fight. He's maxed out now, so he's very tempted to trade with the Terran. This is a massive clump of tanks. Let's see if there's some High Templars. He has got a little bit of Storm available, but preemptive D-Matrixes hold the line at the moment, but that's a massive clump of tanks starting to get some 3-for-1 deals. Doesn't have enough Storm, though, to fully punish. This is what happens to a lot of Protoss players. They kind of get a little bit complacent in these situations and take a few bad fights that can help the Terran get back into the game.
Yeah, not the best fight there, that's for sure. Sock kind of allowing Stork to feed into him and then moving into position to potentially take further bases. Is he going to lose this shuttle? Shuttle manages to survive, albeit just barely. Loses the shuttle to the mine with one Reaver inside. Second Reaver died to the mine there. So a little bit painful. Not really getting the value out of that he'd like to. However, the shutdown on the earlier upgrade was absolutely massive. Those did their job for sure.
Yeah, he's got a few Dragoons at this like top left pocket expansion. Gonna identify and delay the expansion timing of Sark. This Vulture run by is really nice in the bottom right, getting on top of these cannons before they can fully come online. I think there's a few additional ones not even close to warping in, so Stork is going to have to send all of his army, well, at least a big chunk of his army down here to clean this up since there's a probe transfer, but that also makes it easier for Sark to secure this fourth base while he's distracted, and actually might lose a couple of probes if he's not careful with this transfer. Nice little win here for Sark going forward. He's getting closer and closer to maxed out because Stork was distracted down here. This fourth base is going up more or less undeterred. There is a shuttle here going to be harassing it a little bit. But so far, Sark is clawing his way back into this game, and he's even taking a fifth base over at this false high ground.
Now, it doesn't seem like Stork is going to be doing a tech switch anytime soon. He's locking down these bases in bottom right, but adding on more gateways rather than doing a carrier transition. He's just keeping up with this, and look at that, still no +2. It's so far behind. Were those spinning? Did you see if those are spinning there, Shin?
Yeah, they're spinning.
Okay, good. I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. +2 is done. All right, Sock is back on track now. Should be getting into that +3, and eventually we'll get into kind of an insane army. On 4 or 5 bases here, you can build and max out multiple times with that 3-3, so pretty formidable to try and deal with. Just pure gateway man. I think Stork will have to get even more aggressive with his expanding, getting all the way down to bottom left.
Yeah, he was pretty comfortable in the game up until these last couple of minutes. It's gonna start getting out of control for him. Not only is the Terran basically maxed out, but isn't behind in upgrades anymore. That 2-2 finishing up, and Terran's expanding pretty rapidly himself, and Stork starting to stagnate a little bit. His main and natural will be close to mined out, and it's going to be a 3-base Protoss versus a 3-base Terran eventually. That is not good for a setup for Protoss to contend with. He's going to have to find some good engagements while continuing to grow. And I like this play from Sark, staying out active on the map with big clumps of vultures. He's not fully committing into attacking that base in the bottom right, but he's threatening the idea, and Stork wants to trade just as he sees that, and the vultures come back to defend in the nick of time, clearing out those High Templars as they pop out of the shuttle. Big mistake from Stork, losing all of his utility. He cannot fight head-on with the Terran like this. That was a little sneaky maneuver there from Sark, kind of baiting a fight by going bottom right with the vultures, but then quickly coming back with them. Now Stork in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that was about as bad as it can get. Just dropping right on top of all the tanks there and losing storms, or losing High Templar without even getting a single storm. Now Sark is on the warpath. Dive in here. Few storms on top of some of this army. There's really not that many vultures left over, but there's one great storm finally on a big clump of tanks. Sark really being brazen with his positioning on these tanks, putting them so close to each other. He's just begging for a big connection from those storms, but Stork has thrown away an insane number of High Templar men. He has really been giving up tons of High Templar in these past few fights for very little gain. And so if he continues to do that, Sark might be able to push all the way in. Now, he doesn't have many vultures here. Storms should start to come down. Zealot's getting on top of everything. Tanks are getting very low. That's a great storm on the left-hand side. One more storm is available. Another big storm in the middle of this clump. Stork has lost a lot of units, but he's slowly whittling down this army.
Yeah, still a crazy amount of tanks, but he has got some more storm available to him to maybe shut this down. It's possible Sark will kind of slightly overextend here, but this is also a nice play. Coming in with the vultures, sniping some of those High Templars, save some of them in the shuttles, but Stork is drying up in infantry. He's going to load up a few of those shuttles with the Zealots. If he sieges up all these tanks, maybe he can break it, but you can see Sark is only sieging half of his tanks right now, so there's more DPS on the ground from the arc-light cannons. But with some good storms, Stork is actually starting to trade off a good clump of that army, and there's even a bit of a reinforcement train from Stork going on the counter-offensive here to hit this false high ground. I mean, right now, Sark is very adamant on trying to close out this game, but he is slightly overextending during it. He's gonna potentially have to evacuate this base, and there's even a CC being built here that might get cancelled. Slowly but surely, Sark is gaining some ground on the front line against Stork, but he's drying up in the tools he's got available. He's going to have to initiate a tactical withdrawal, and just lost 2 CCs for the price as well. Suddenly, Stork in a much better driving seat in this game. Close to 40 supply ahead, shuts down a Terran expansion. Now it's 3 bases to 2. A much more manageable game state for the Protoss, especially after killing that many tanks.
Man, Sark had me on the edge of my seat there. I was like thinking he kind of had it with so many tanks pushing forward. And then I was on the edge of my seat there wondering, did he throw in that position when he was just shoving in with unsieged tanks and taking so much damage from all of the storms? But it seemed like he still had enough to contain the natural, but Stork actually breaks it, and now things are looking a lot more up in the air. Sark, with this drop down towards bottom right, is making things difficult for Stork, making it hard for him to keep this mining going, but the supplies are speaking for themselves right now. Look at how much of a supply lead Stork has managed to accumulate. Cuts that down a little bit with the drop, but a full 40 supply lead here with extra bases over the Terran opponent. Sark is going to try to take that false high ground once again, but that is, as we've seen, a little bit exposed. You can sort of get in here at the bottom left corner, start to storm into that location. Very tight and narrow place to push into, but Stork may want to start putting on the pressure now that Sark is on the back foot.
Yeah, we got 3-2 upgrades for Stork, and Sark's own 3-2 upgrade should be finishing up momentarily here. Maybe he can stabilize this game and start to remax out. These are some nice drops from Sark. He is slowing down Stork ever so slightly and distracting him from going for any engagements to take advantage of the low tank count. Wild Stork now taking his own false high ground. Looks like he is gearing up to do an assault on the front line of Sark, though not a lot of tanks to utilize here this time around. And it's possible Stork could just run over this army. Let's see if he can get some good storms. That's a pretty okay one. D-Matrix comes out to try and hold the line here. But there's just so much Protoss to contend with. Maybe Sark can just barely stabilize, though, if he can get a few more reinforcements to this position. It looks like Stork, though, just slightly overwhelming. There's that 3-3 upgrade from Sark, so he would have traded better and better as the game progressed, but he's just not being allowed to get a critical mass of tanks ever again after that massive engagement in Stork's natural.
Dude, that was incredibly close. It looked like Sark was actually going to hang on there when he started splattering down all those Protoss units, but there was just barely enough Dragoons and Zealots at the end of that fight to kind of push through. And Sark sitting at 81 supply, man. It's looking bleak as he tries to defend all these different bases. Like his already small army is going to be spread incredibly thin. Stork should have plenty of opportunity to try and break him open and prevent additional expansions from coming down or Sark reaching that critical mass of tanks again.
Yeah, now there is one thing going for Sark is that, you know, Stork just mined out his mineral only. He hasn't expanded his natural on the bottom right and hasn't yet got a transfer of probes to this false high ground. If Sark can lean on this false high ground while continuing to grow slightly himself, there is a win condition for Sark still. He needs to assault this position, this Protoss false high ground location, and he can win the game. Stork's just got 2 bases worth of mining, and you know, at the moment, Sark has got 3 until his own mineral only and false high ground get mined out. He's going to try and take the bottom left pocket expansion as well to supplement. Stork rotating around to go on a counter offensive rather than securing his own additional expansion. If Sark can hang on here without taking much losses, he's actually in a pretty okay spot. Like, I still think Sark can actually win this game.
He's putting on some pressure to that false high ground with these 2 tanks. That's really hard to dislodge unless you've got a shuttle to drop Zealots right on top of those tanks. Pushing into that is painful, to say the least. So Stork just probably going to abandon this base, look instead towards the false high ground on his side of the map, on the center right, and the base over here at bottom right, the bottom right natural, the drops actually helping him to pick off a few more High Templar, being super annoying and getting in here once again and just slowing things down for Stork, who really does actually need additional bases. Another High Templar killed. Stork is running dry, man. He's out of money in his main natural and that mineral only now.
Yeah, and Sark has just got another base online, and his mineral only still not mined out. This is looking okay for Sark. And, you know, I love the special forces play with the dropship and vultures just constantly harassing the utility availability of Stork by killing the High Templars over and over. Stork is going to get a little bit desperate now. He's got 3-1-3 upgrades. He needs to at least kill this expansion in the bottom left, or maybe he doesn't even know about it. He's going to go into the false high ground. I think this is a bit ill-advised from Stork. I actually don't like him attacking this expansion right now. It's pretty much already close to being mined out, and it's a tight choke point. He gets an EMP on 2 of those High Templars as well. And with this cliff face, yes, technically you can run your Dragoons up to shoot these tanks, but you shouldn't. And, you know, Sark is taking another good fight. I think this was unfortunate for Stork. If only he had known about that base in the bottom left, that was a much juicier target. There was no need to push into that false high ground.
Oh, man. I mean, Stork, he is a great player. He's the legendary Dino Toss, but he has a hard time in some of these late game positions. Like, he's just not keeping up with Sark. He's not continuing to expand, and like, he should have already had at least pylons built on that high ground in bottom left. Doesn't necessarily have the Nexus there right away, but get a pylon up there, throw down a couple cannons, maybe lock down a Nexus while all the chaos is going on in the map, but he's lost his initiative, and Sock is now clearing out these High Templars with really good efficiency, and Stork doesn't even know how bad of a situation he's in because he has no vision on that bottom left.
Yeah, I think he's close to tapping out here, saying if he can't establish this false high ground, there's just nothing left in it for him. Even if he doesn't know about this bottom left, like, he's going to realize, uh-oh, I'm in a lot of trouble here. I can no longer get a critical mass of an army together to fight this back. I'm starting to get contained. I'm locked out from securing this additional base. Yes, he's got the natural in the bottom right, but it's not enough to supplement against what Sark is able to put out right now. He's racing ahead in supply. He's clearing up these Dragoons very efficiently with not even that many tanks available. And suddenly, Stork kind of getting put into a bit of a triangle hold here.
Stork is running out of options, man. He's falling further and further behind in supply and tossing in units against entrenched positions that he can hardly afford to break. He did barely manage to save that Nexus. That's something, but man, that mine dropping his supply down once again below 100. So Stork just suffering here as he tries to put together an economy, a shattered economy that just is not running like it should. He's getting this false high ground online. I think he just spotted bottom left. That's a big moment here for Stork. He should be able to send maybe a shuttle or something down there to try and slow things down. He kills his own Dragoon in frustration, dude. Stork is really starting to feel the pain here. He shoves forward, kills one of these tanks, a second tank as well, but engaging fully into the army is just out of the question at this point.
Yeah, this is a very chaotic game. Like, I guess in theory there was a way of maybe Stork turning this back around in his favor, but he's just never being allowed to establish himself once again. Just as he finally gets probes transferred over to this newly established base, Sark is on top of it yet again. There is a lot of forces coming down from the north here from Stork. Maybe he can barely save this Nexus once more, but he is going to trade off a lot of his army to do it. Here comes a nice flood of Zealots that's going to help fight and get rid of a lot of these Terran units. So he is going to keep this Nexus alive. I mean, it is technically possible that Sark still throws this game away, right? Like, he is being relentlessly aggressive. His mineral only's just recently become mined out. The false high ground will be mined out soon, but Terran just need 2 bases mining to keep their production firing in all cylinders. Sark's not too worried as long as that top left base is fine and this newly established bottom left pocket expansion is protected as well. Right now, Sark's kind of been defending by attacking. A little bit of stabilization for Stork, but not enough to be confident. He's still kind of licking his wounds in a defensive posture.
He's managed to last long enough that Sock has started to run a bit dry, right? He's got only the base in the top left, that mineral and gas base, and then he's got bottom left. But that's practically half the map. For all intents and purposes, pretty much half the map is being mined right now by Sock. Long term, that should result in a Terran victory. For the short term, though, Stork is mining on a few more bases, right? He's kind of mining here. He's mining bottom right, the main and natural, and he's sort of mining center right. I guess that just ran out, so he's kind of on 3 bases. This base goes down, now down to 2 bases. Things are looking bleak as heck for Stork. He needs an amazing trade against this army, but Sock is doing a great job of just spreading out everything, making sure that he doesn't give anything away to Stork.
Oh, he's going out with his shuttle, and the Vulture just barely spotted it. But I actually don't think Sark looked at the shuttle. Okay, he did. He saw the dot on the mini-map, so he rotates some Vultures over here. But actually, the Storm Drop does get some damage done. Not a lot of SCVs committed to this expansion. An SUV train comes in now from the mineral only, I think, earlier. But this is still very problematic for Stork. The fact that this contain is set up means the Terran is always going to be trading at a pretty high efficiency rating, and he's starting to encroach on this Nexus setup with the tanks. They're in firing range now. Archon drop here in a mode of desperation from Stork. He needs to get compensation in this game. He's going to try a bust out attempt as well while he's distracting with the Archon drop. D-Matrix comes out, snipes the High Templar with the Vultures as well. It looks like Stork might just barely be able to clear some of these tanks, but not the entire setup, and Sark can keep reinforcing it. This distraction at this expansion is pulling some of the forces over here from Sark, so the contain isn't as strong as it could be at the moment. If Stork can get down here with this army from the north before the tanks can rotate back to the front line, that would be something, but he's got a massive minefield to try and chew through.
Yeah, killing off this minefield to open up a flanking position. Just being forced to bottleneck out of this natural is absolutely killing Stork here. Like, he just cannot come out of the natural in any sort of an efficient way. And so he needs to get this flank going. He needs to take a fight from both sides at the same time. He's brought forward some more zealots, diving in on top of all of this. The Dragoons are hitting a lot of these tanks as they're walking into position. So he's actually getting a lot of damage practically for free there. He does not have an observer, though, in the front line with these Dragoons, so he's having a hard time. Oh, huge storm. Huge storm drop over at that center left. Is there a hope for Stork still? Like, he's just killed so much stuff. He's killed so many tanks, and it's going to be very hard for Sok to remake.
I still think Sark's going to win. Like, Stork just now mined out on this main base in the bottom right, and by killing this many SCVs, it also means, like, this base will be mined out even slower here for Sark. Maybe there's a way of navigating this game to a victory for Stork, but it's not going to be easy. D-Matrix coming out onto this tank. He will at least kill that eventually. And he is kind of buying himself a little bit of time to maybe think about what he wants to do next, but there is still quite a hefty count of tanks for Stork to contend with in this game, and with only one base worth of mining, I just don't know how Stork is going to muster a large enough force to combat that.
Yeah, it's not really looking possible at the moment. Stork on 75 total supply. Wants to come out, possibly try to take this Nexus, but if it gets denied again, Stork is just going to be out of money. He's going to be completely out of money with nothing left to do. Will be forced out of this game. Diving in on top of this base again. Storm! Okay, few more SCV kills, but here comes the rally of SCVs ready to start mining that base out. Vultures come forward here, gonna get on top of a lot of zealots, taking a great trade. Dragoon's gonna Mine's gonna connect on the Dragoon, and so Vultures alone are starting to clear up this natural. If he gets on top of that mineral line, again, it's over. There's so many different ways for Sok to end this, and maybe one or two ways for Stork to somehow make a comeback.
Yeah, this looks like just slightly too much stuff for Sark now. It's become a real numbers game. Stork just gonna tap out. Mini is still waiting in the wings to see which of these next two gamers he'll be facing off. Gonna be Soma versus Sark coming up next. That's gonna be a good matchup. Sark's got a very interesting TVZ style, and I'm kind of looking forward to it, Sam.
All right, let's get it. One player remaining from each race at this point. It's almost like we planned it, Shun. With one Terran, one Zerg, one Protoss, but it's been happening a lot recently. We've been having some very tight weeks of KCM. It's not really reflected well in the points right now, but this has been hotly contested, and Protoss has secured second place at the very least here. Mini waiting in the wings for whoever wins between Sok and Soma.
Yeah, that's at least a point on the board for Protoss. Hopefully they can avoid flatlining for too long in the point structure going forward in the middle weeks of this season of KCM. Really curious to see how this game develops between these two gamers. Sark is just one of these guys that's willing to do build orders that most Terrans aren't. You know, this could be like a Valkyrie rush into a mech transition. It could quite literally be anything. And Soma knows that as well. He's going to have to be very on top of his scouting this game. But luckily he's scouting in the correct direction with his Overlord. That's something. Going to be a quick 11 hatch from him here. And let's see what Sark's got cooked up for us. So far it's a slightly traditional opening. Just a wall in at the front. No gas being taken just yet.
I was kind of expecting like a 1-1-1 from Sock, if I'm being honest. Like, I was not expecting some sort of 1-Rex fast expand, but hey, maybe he's got something up his sleeve to pull out behind this. You can still go for, you know, some sort of Valkyrie play, especially in close map or close positions like this. A Valkyrie play into like a fantasy push could be pretty strong on in these positions. So we'll see if Sock has a push like that in mind, or if he wants to play a more orthodox style. I'd really be surprised if that were the case.
Ooh, he is taking his gas before the CC saying, so it's going to be some form of tech-centric style, which is what we've come to expect from Sark in this matchup. Just a bit more of a delayed gas than some of the other potential openings we've seen. You can see that CC slightly delayed, more like a 250 timing rather than like a 230 timing as a result. Marine coming into the natural of the Zerg. Going to be at least forcing some lack of mining here. But needs to be careful. The Lings are already in hot pursuit. You can't stay here for hardly any time at all. Going to be running back with that. Only forcing a tiny bit of lost minerals. And oh, that's a quick Hydra Den from Soma. Okay. I'm curious what Soma wants to do with this game. Is he going to be doing some kind of just lurker opening to punish the wall in for Sark? Or is he going to go for a bit of a weird Hydra timing if there's no bunker that can be really effective? Or this could just be a defensive play. There's actually no lair at all, so this does look like it could be a bit of a Hydra build from Soma to try and surprise Sark. If he's not set up at home with a bunker, could get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I don't see a bunker here just yet. If you're going to do one of these more teched out plays, you really do need to cut some corners. And not really going to have that many Marines. You're not going to have things luxurious like a bunker. You're definitely not going to have medics. And medics are what makes Marines so strong against just pure Hydralisk and Ling.
Yeah.
He's also not going to have Stim, too, which is a problem. I think we might see Sock just straight up die here, man. Like,
he might, yeah.
Yeah, there's just not really a lot of stuff here. And despite having the wall, like, Hydras don't really care about that wall, and Lings are going to be bearing down on the front pretty quickly. Here we go. 3 Hydras walk right up to the wall. Sock got to bail directly out of this natural. He's going to pull the SCVs, try to block the best that he can. This is a pretty good surround on some of these Hydras, but that's a lot of Lings coming forward, man. All he's got is a Vulture on the way, and he's going to lose his barracks and 2 supply depots. Sock in insane amounts of trouble.
Yeah, trying to throw down a desperation bunker on the high ground. Lings starting to slightly break through, not completely. He could also keep that CC floated over the natural for a few seconds to make it harder to target fire specific units, but he's just going to evacuate 2 of those depots. Will go down in quick succession, and basically supply block Sark here is alive with this bunker on the high ground. But this is already a nice opening from Soma, and didn't commit that many Hydras initially. This was literally like, what, like 4 Hydras and then a bit of a flood of Zerglings, but now a lot more additional Hydras are being made to potentially bust through on this high ground. Gonna be a bit more time until something like a tank can be made. Is Soma gonna pull the trigger on this? It looks like the answer is yes. Where is the body block? Nothing is here to stop this. Uh-oh. Big mistake from Sark. He's not gonna get a repair on that bunker. He thought the aggression was over with, but it's not. Soma gets a very quick execution on Sark in a splendid fashion. That means we got Soma versus Mini for our grand finale of this week of KCM coming up next.
Pretty sick all in there from Soma. I like the mentality. Didn't want to play around at all with Sark and his very... wait, four pool? Five pool? Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right, well, Soma's got places to be, man. He's been waiting too long. He's got a hot date. He's already late. You know, this man is not married, guys. He's getting on in his age. He's got to get out there and start, you know, dating seriously. So he's gonna quickly get this game over and you know, get ready for that. Dude, this is crazy. How the heck is Mini scouting this already? Like, this is exactly what we saw from, wasn't it Snow on this map? Came across the map immediately with a probe to see if he could get Nexus first. Well, that's going to work out fantastic for Mini. Soma obviously wasn't watching that game because this is exactly the playbook Mini is following.
Yeah, you know, the Forge might just barely be in time. I have to see when the... Okay, maybe not, actually. He's going to have the body blocker probe saying either way. Cannon's not yet started and Lings are already en route. It is forced cross map, so it does take quite a lot of time for these Zerglings to get here. He's got the probe in front of the Zerglings to slow down their movement speed ever so slightly. He won't do that too many times, just a little bit to maybe buy a second or two, force a little bit of a turnaround to target fire that probe momentarily. And here comes the probes now. You have to pull a lot of probes in this situation. He's gonna put some in the front to block on the ramp. That's a really smart idea from Mini. Then he pulls them back to the next line of probes. Total of 8 here, but the cannon only just now warping in. Can these Lings get inside? He gets a few, but only one actually living to tell the tale inside the main base of the Protoss. Pretty good defense here from Mini all around, and Soma, he's gonna have to show up fashionably late to that date, Sam.
Yeah, he's gonna have to find a way to transition from this play. 5 pool, it's possible to re-drone and get into, you know, a regular macro game. It's a little different than the 4 pool.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, man. It's not.
No.
It's especially not easy when you don't get any probe kills going for this play, man. I don't think he got anything. Did he get 1 probe in that attack, or did he get 0?
I don't think so. I don't remember a probe going down. Maybe I just missed it. He's got 4 Lings to deal with this Zealot probe combo as well with the drone. Trying to throw down this hatchery, but Mini not going to let that hatchery go down. And while he's distracted dealing with the Zealot and probe, loses the Zergling in the main base of Mini. Soma in a little bit of a difficult situation. There's a second Zealot about to show up. He needs to kill this Zealot now, but the Lings will be softened up by the time that he does. And now round 2 has started. He's going to be forced to keep making more and more Zerglings. He does have another pair popping out to help clear this Zealot cost efficiently. But yeah, this is still a lot of pressure that Soma has to contest with. It means he can't be producing drones at this time, which he really needs to. He's on 13 supply. Hardly any drones are available to mine. You can see he's actually delaying mining that gas a little bit just because he's trying to squeeze out as many minerals as possible. And yeah, this is going to be a rough game for Soma.
I believe he turned and killed that 1 Ling with the probe too. That was crazy. Kept the probe alive afterwards as well. Mini is playing fantastically, man, and I really like the early probe decision that both him and Snow made. It feels incredibly strong, actually, and it makes me wonder, like, what's the downside to even doing that?
There isn't many. That's the funny thing. Protoss is just a good race, I guess, guys.
Seriously, somebody who really knows this, like, the matchup on match point. 2 base map. You send out the probe that early, you get to see whether or not they're going for an early expansion. You can try to block. If it's an early expansion, you can try to block. Plus, you can take a Nexus first. If they're going for a pool, you can just throw down the Forge, get everything down. And even if they're going 5 pool, you can still defend that properly. There's just not really a good way for Zergs to punish.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously still need a bit of finesse as Protoss. Like, I'm sure you guys on the ladder might still die to that 5 pool because you haven't quite got the decision-making and the pro positioning that Mini does. So, you know, it's not like it's easy necessarily, but at the pro level, when you've got great control and great foresight into exactly how to deal with plays like that, yeah, it's a challenge for the Zerg, man. And this is the kind of weird thing about Zerg as a race. Like, yes, like the race is really strong, but once you get to a certain MMR, like it kind of goes back and forth. Like once you hit S rank for the first time as Zerg, you feel very confident against Protoss players. But if you're fighting against a Protoss player that's really high MMR, like way beyond 2300, suddenly they can start styling on you a little bit in the early game optimizations.
It really seems like there's a vulnerability for Zerg on match point. Maybe just opening just a regular overpool. Gonna have to start becoming, you know, standard on this map. So you can't be pressured by that early probe or allow them to get away with the Nexus first. Now, Soma's managed to scrape together a few Hydralisks and come here to pressure the front. But I imagine there's going to be Zealot speed soon. There's a really decent number of Zealots in behind here. Looks like he's possibly going to lose the upgrade. He does come out to try and fight this. 15 HP. It does go down. Loses that upgrade. That's kind of a big deal. It at least gives Soma a bit of an edge when it comes to the upgrade advantage. But he's still going to have a hard time dealing with the Zealots that are about to come pouring out here. And he's also losing Overlords back at home. So he's supply blocked while the Zealot timing is coming into fruition.
Yeah, I mean, he's taking a few risks. Like, he's going for a very minimal defensive setup against these Corsairs. Obviously not even trying to get a Spire online yet to help deal with that. Means he will be supply blocked quite heavily before layers even finish, but he is being a bit greedy. You know, he's taking a very quick 4th base to try and come back into this game, but when you take risks like this to come back in the curve of the game, it does set you up to being punished. And Mini is, you know, seriously adept at identifying weak spots and the soft underbelly of the Zergs to exploit. And he's got these Zealots moving out to get a kill order on this hatchery in the top left, and I don't think Soma's going to get there in time to even shut it down. Even if he did get there in time to shut it down, there's not enough Hydras to fight this, saying this is a dead expansion.
Yeah, it's a dead expansion. He may end up losing a lot of Overlords too. He's still setting the Hydras up, so yeah, there's going to be for sure multiple dead Overlords. One Hydra trying to stop this, it's not going to cut it. No +1 here, so it takes a little longer for the Zealots to do their job, but they will eventually kill that hatchery and can bail out in time as well to save the majority. Couple of DTs out here. Drop ship as well. That's a very quick timed robo. And drop going to be coming into the main. Dude, Mini is going to rip Soma apart here. That early game 5 pool is coming back to haunt Soma in this game.
Yeah, just a little bit saying. I mean, I guess every player has a fighting chance most situations. You know, a non-zero chance of finding a way of winning this game. Like, if he could somehow catch this shuttle in transit or something, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. The DT drop about to go online in the main base of the Zerg. No Overlord here to spot, even if there was Army Deal. They're always going for another cancellation on the hatchery, distracting Soma while the DTs go in. He's not noticing the drones dying, so even if he can't kill this hatchery in the top left, it doesn't even matter. And there's no Overlord speed yet, so actually these DTs in the top left actually do force a cancellation anyway. He's killed so many drones in the main base, forced a cancel on the hatchery. Mini having a field field day. He can throw down a third Nexus at the 12 o'clock as well if he wants. Because of how late that Overlord speed is, now the DTs are going after the main lair. Oh my gosh, Saiyan.
Oh, is he going to get this? No.
It's so close. I think he gets it, just barely. Maybe.
Oh my
it's so
gosh.
close.
Target,
It's so
target,
close.
200,
It's so close.
200, 100, 50.
One more.
Oh, he gets it. GG. That was a very mini way to end the series, boys. Mini getting in there with the DTs at 2 different locations. You you kind of expect it, but it's always surprising to see, 4 DTs made in a really critical situation like that. Most players are gonna try to get into their standard, High Templar, Zealot, maybe throw an Archon in there, try to get that pressure going. Mini never afraid to use DTs, and he played like a boss there with his Corsairs, getting so much damage.
Yeah, it really was fantastic. What a great climax to this week at KCM. And now the points are looking a lot more interesting, with Protoss getting 2 points on the board finally, joining Terran for second place, 2 points apiece, 5 points for Zerg, though. Right now, Zerg's still on trajectory to breaking out into orbit. But there's a little bit of slowdown, just 1 point this week. Maybe things will change in the next couple of weeks of KCM. I'm glad that we're not seeing Protoss just flatlining, though. That's really important to keep things spicy and interesting going forward. Certainly is possible that Protoss starts turning things around. If they can have a few more weeks like this where they edge out over Zerg just barely at the final hurdle, they will be able to force Zerg to be the one facing off against Terran in a semifinals, and that would actually be exciting because Protoss has been doing a lot better lately in KCM, and I'm all about it.
Yeah, they just need to bring better lineups, man. Where's YSC when you need him? I'll pull him in here. I'm just kidding, guys. Stork actually
best brew better.
Stork actually played really well this week, man. I'm impressed with him. He definitely put out some good games and held his own. Snow and Mini, of course, pulling out some clutch games, some clutch wins. Love to see it. This is a strong week of KCM, guys. We're going to be back next week with our number 4. But before then, the semi-finals of ASL, guys. If you haven't been following our casts, definitely check out the link in the description. You can come and watch live, and you can also watch the VODs at that channel live as well. So come hang out with us. Enjoy the ASL, enjoy the KCM. Thank you so much for watching today. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, guys.